Greetings, this is Mrs. Baker, and I'm going over Act 2 of Romeo and Juliet. Please make sure that your packets are out so that you can check your answers. And let's get started. So the top four boxes here are important theater terms to understand: prologue, monologue, soliloquy, and aside. Prologue and soliloquy are both long speeches, but the difference is a prologue, it is one person talking, and it is in the presence of others, whereas a soliloquy is like a solo. It is one person speaking his or her thoughts aloud. Act 2, Scene 1, begins with Romeo ditching his friends immediately after the Capulet feast, and Romeo is called for by his friends, and Benvolio is Romeo's cousin. And Mercutio says, jokingly, that he will conjure Romeo by magically calling him using Rosalind's bright eyes, her high forehead, and her scarlet lip. They think that they can joke about it and tease him, and that Romeo will suddenly appear if he knows that Rosalind is around. But this is an example of dramatic irony, because we know something that the characters in the story do not. We know that Romeo no longer loves Rosalind, and instead loves Juliet. So if Mercutio really wanted to conjure up Romeo, he should use Juliet's name to conjure him up. And then think about this. What is the center of your universe? I want you to think metaphorically, like what are the things that guide you and keep you where you want to go? Because Romeo says, you know, how can I go somewhere else? I can't turn back because I need to find Juliet. She is the center of my universe. Well, they've met only a few hours ago. This strong connection, it's plausible, possibly, but we have to see. All right, so now Mercutio and Benvolio give up looking for Romeo because it's no good hunting for a person who doesn't want to be found. We know this from Act 1 that Romeo does like to ditch his friends and hide away from them. We've seen proof of this behavior, and you can tell that Mercutio gets a little bent out of shape by this. I gotta wonder, like, why is he jealous? But that's for another discussion. All right, Act 2, Scene 2 is the very famous balcony scene. Interestingly enough, Shakespeare never actually uses the word balcony anywhere in the text of this play. We just assume it's a balcony because of the description of Juliet being over Romeo's head. And so she's up in a window, and then when he climbs up to speak to her directly, it makes sense that there's a balcony there, because otherwise, you know, he wouldn't be able to get up there. He'd have nothing to stand on. Okay? We have a lot of light and dark imagery here. He likens her to the moon and the sun. Sorry, that she is such a bright person up in the sky there that she looks like she is the sun. And interesting, I have all of the positive or words that are associated with light highlighted in yellow here, and all the words that seem to be its opposite highlighted in pink. We know Romeo's revealed it to us that he loves her, but again, do we really know if it's love, or is it infatuation, or is he just happy that, oh, here's a girl that likes him back? We can question all of that and discuss it. We have this conceit of eavesdropping. Romeo is going to be able to get lots of information from the things that Juliet says, and this will help further the play. We also have stage directions that are embedded in the dialogue. Shakespeare does not write separate stage directions, but instead puts it inside the dialogue, so Juliet's actress would know, oh, when Romeo says these lines, she should put her cheek upon her hand. All right, so Romeo still listens. We get some more light imagery, And then Juliet speaks the very famous line, "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo?" Wherefore does not mean where. We know where he is located. It is why. She's questioning, why is he Romeo? How do I know that I'm correct? Because in the next lines, she talks about his name and how the assumption that Capulets and Montagues can't be together, that is what's keeping them apart. And she even says, "Thy name is my enemy. Be some other name, and then I don't have to worry about this." Okay? And this is something philosophical you can think about. If you change the name or the label of something, do you change its essence? And how do labels affect the meaning of something? If you label something good or bad, do you believe that that thing is good or bad? Interesting to think about. So Romeo at this point decides to jump up out of the bushes and reveal himself to her, saying, "Call me but love and I'll be new baptized." And he now drops some hints as to who is speaking, because Juliet is freaking out that some guy has just popped up out of the bushes and has so stumblest on her counsel. "Who the heck are you and what are you doing in my bushes?" And Romeo says, "Well, my name, dear saint, is hateful because it's an enemy to thee." And these are all the hints. He's not telling her outright. He's being poetic, as is his nature. And he tells her that, the dear saint is a reference to those religious pickup lines he used at the party. And Juliet recognizes him, and now they talk. But yet, if you notice, there's lots of words about death and murder used in this dialogue. Juliet is fearful that if Romeo is found out, that he will be killed. And again, this is that assumption. Well, yeah, if you're some boy stalking around in the bushes at night, of course you're going to get in trouble if you're caught. You should be, because you shouldn't be doing that. But if Romeo came up to the front door the next day and asked to date Juliet, we know that Lord Capulet would probably agree to that, because he said Romeo is a virtuous young youth. Okay? And notice too now that Romeo feels light. He's no longer weighted by love. He feels very light and happy and using love's light wings. Did he fly over these walls to be with her? It's very different. He's no longer depressed. All right, we have more talk. They discuss some things, and Romeo again has another change of heart, and he's no longer giving up free will. Now he's saying, "I'm going to do these things. I am no pilot, but I would go to the farthest seas to find you." He's taking charge of his fate, so be it. And now Juliet starts to question. She knows that Romeo, she's wondering how much has he heard. She knows he's heard quite a bit. She doesn't know quite how much. And so now she's saying, "Well, do you really love me? And you're just going to tell me yes because you already know I love you. So what is your purpose for being up here? Are you just being up here because you want to make out with me? You like use me and lose me? Or do you actually truly love me?" And at this point, she's kind of like, "Well, whatever. I love you anyway, so I just might as well go with it." We also know, though, too, that she has another suitor who's after her, Paris, and she's not really into him. So if she's into Romeo and Romeo's into her, she can get out of marrying Paris. And this is why later on Juliet will bring up the notion of getting married. Notice she tells him not to swear by the moon, the inconstant moon, because if he swears that he loves her, the moon changes every month, and so therefore his love would change. Don't swear. So it's kind of interesting. What would you have someone swear by to prove what they're stating is true? All right, so now she's still a little like, "Oh, this is too much. It's too fast. This is all too sudden. I really don't think I can do this." And again, she's being reminded of that engagement, possible engagement to Paris. So things are happening way too quickly for her. And now we get this cutesy moment where, he's like, "Oh, you're going to take away that, oh, will you leave me so unsatisfied?" Great line. "Are you going to leave me unsatisfied? Like, you're not going to make out with me some more?" And she's like, "What satisfaction can you have There's no way. I just met you. There's no way you're going to get that. So then he's real slick. Oh, no, just say that you love me. And she's like, I already told you I love you, but I'll tell it to you again. And he's like, what? You'll take it away? Why will you take away that I love you? And she says, and this is cutesy, cheesy, gag me with a spoon, oh, so I could give it to you again. I'll just keep taking it away so I can keep telling you over and over and over again. But we do get this really pretty line, a set of lines. My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. Now that's really pretty. You know, you're pledging and saying, you know, I will give you the world. There is no limit. Although we know from geography that the sea is bounded. It is contained by land. So really, what she says isn't really true in real life. All right, so now we get a little bit more foreshadowing right here. Oh, I'm afeard, being a knight, all this is but a dream. He doesn't think that this is real. Well, yeah, things are moving a little too fast. And then Jules brings up getting married. Wow, this is a 13-year-old solution to getting out of marrying someone you don't want to marry. Well, if I marry somebody else first, then I won't have to marry Paris. And so she's going to send a messenger to him tomorrow at the hour of 9. And Romeo, between now and then, will figure out a way for them to get married. Where and what time the rite of marriage will be performed. What? They're going to get married? They've only known each other a few hours. And we get some more beautiful lines. Love goes towards love as schoolboys from their books. It's Friday. Yay. We're leaving school, so we're super duper happy. So that's just like love going towards love. But then when love leaves love, that's like us going back to school, and we have very sad, heavy looks. What's interesting about this is this juxtaposition of coming and going. That he has it being multi-directions at once. And opposite, contradictory directions. All right, more illusions and imagery. There's the hour of 9 that we'll get the message. And then we get some cutesy stuff where, like, you know, I'll stay here, you know, waiting for you to remember what you said so that you can keep forgetting, so I can keep staying here, blah, blah, blah. And then lots of images, references to birds and flowers in here. Wanton's bird, silk, lots of stuff that's in here is references to flowers and birds. And then Romeo says he will go to his ghostly father's cell. He's not talking about a dead dad, because we know that his dad is alive. We saw him in Act 1, Scene 1. But he's going to go to his priest, his local priest, Friar Lawrence. So he's going to go to his community priest. Why? So that they can get married. Make sure you've answered the questions and have everything completed. If you have any issues, please let me know.